In 2007, while on death row for killing a police officer in 1982, a Tennessee man named Philip Workman requested that instead of a last meal, a pizza be donated to a local homeless person. His final request was denied. On May 9, 2007, homeless shelters across Tennessee received massive numbers of pizzas of various toppings from people all over the country, honoring Workman's last meal request. In 2017, this Rohingya Muslim man carried his immobile parents for nearly 100 miles to escape Burma's death squads. It took him 7 days, but he eventually reached Bangladesh. On August 20th, 2020, Darius Sessoms walked over to his neighbor's kids who were riding bikes outside their home, placed something bad next to 5-year-old Canon Hinnant's head, and denied him in front of his 2 sisters for riding on the lawn. Sessoms was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on December 29, 2022, after entering an Alford plea. The picture on your screen shows the clown suits that were removed from the home of serial killer John Wayne Gacy, who offed at least 33 boys and men. In 1985, a New Orleans man drowned at a pool party attended by over 100 lifeguards, celebrating a summer with no drownings. After the party was finished, 4 lifeguards who were cleaning the pool found the fully clothed body of 31-year-old Jerome Moody at the bottom of the pool's deep end. In 2013, a Chinese businessman hired a hitman to take out his competitor for $282,000, but the hitman hired another man to do the job, offering $141,000. That man then hired another hitman, who hired another hitman, who hired another hitman. In September 2019, Emma Scholes saved all of her 6 kids from their burning home, running room to room, floor to floor. Even though she was bleeding and losing skin, hair burnt like coal, she kept going. Emma got 93% burn injuries, yet still survived. X-ray images show how a teenage boy cheated death when a 5-inch knife was plunged into his head. The 16-year-old and 2 other young men were injured when they tried to stop a friend getting robbed at a bus stop. The teenager was rushed to hospital with the kitchen knife still stuck in his forehead after the attack in Walworth, South London, in September 2008. On September 8, 2009, Vietnamese-American Annie Lee, a doctoral student at the Yale School of Medicine, was found hanging upside down inside a building wall cavity in the basement of the Yale laboratory. A week after, Raymond J. Clark, a Yale lab technician, was arrested and found guilty to the heinous crime and was sentenced to 44 years in prison. Billy Stanley's dying wish was to be buried on his Harley-Davidson motorcycle so his friends could see his final ride. This is a photo from his funeral in 2014. Following the destruction of the Nova Kakhovka Dam in Ukraine in June 2023, the skulls and bones of soldiers that died during World War II have been unearthed. Rosalia Lombardo was only 2 years old when she died from pneumonia in 1920. Her premature death left her father so heartbroken that he approached the noted embalmer, Alfredo Salafia, and asked him to preserve Rosalia's body. Alfredo Salafia, a skillful embalmer and taxidermist, performed such an excellent operation on Rosalia that nearly 100 years after her death, the little girl appears to be merely dozing beneath the glass case in the Capuchin catacombs of Palermo, Italy, where she rests. Dr. Fukushi Masaichi was a human skin collector. He paid people who were willing to donate their skin after they died for his research. He even funded tattoos for people who couldn't afford them, so long as they were willing to donate as well. Hall of Fame boxer Sugar Ray Robinson backed out of a fight because he had a dream that he was going to kill his opponent in the ring. After a priest and minister convinced Robinson to fight, Robinson went into the ring and killed his opponent, Jimmy Doyle. Russian Ambassador Andrei Karlov, on the 19th of December 2016, seconds before an off-duty Turkish police officer, seen in the background, assassinated him. In 2020, Shane Goldsby got his sister's assaulter as a cellmate. Despite repeatedly requesting a transfer, nothing happened. After the man taunted him for days with specific details about his sister's assault, Goldsby snapped and stomped him to death. This photo of Carrie Fisher was taken by a fan in London the day before she boarded a flight to Los Angeles. On board the flight, She suffered a heart attack and passed away in the hospital 4 days later, on December 27, 2016. Jean Hilliard was involved in a car crash in sub-zero temperatures. She walked to her friend's house 2 miles away, but she collapsed 15 feet from the house. The temperature dropped to negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit, and she was found 6 hours later. Doctors could not administer a hypodermic needle as her skin was too hard to pierce, and her heart rate dropped to 12 BPM. They put her in an electric blanket in an attempt to defrost her. Remarkably, as she thawed out, her vital signs improved. She woke later that day. She spent 49 days in hospital and went on to fully recover. Today, we're diving into the chilling mystery of Mel's Waters Hole. Located in the remote wilderness, this seemingly bottomless pit has baffled experts for years. Despite numerous attempts, no one has been able to measure its depth, and strange occurrences surround it. Could this be a portal to another dimension, or is there a more rational explanation? Stay tuned for more creepy mysteries. W.V. Meadows was shot in the eye at the Battle of Vicksburg during the American Civil War. He survived, and 58 years later coughed the bullet out of his mouth. In 1921, Cough's Up Bullet was a national newspaper story. The perpetrator, Peter Knapp, read the story and realized it was he who shot that bullet that was embedded near Meadows' brain. Subsequently, he reached out to Meadows, and after comparing notes, they found out it was true. Comedian Gilbert Gottfried talking about the death of fellow celeb Bob Saget in January 2022. Gilbert would die just 3 months later. In 1977, Teresita Basa was tragically murdered. But this wasn't the end of her story. Her spirit reached out to a co-worker through eerie, supernatural means, revealing the identity of her killer. Thanks to Teresita's ghostly intervention, her murderer was caught and brought to justice. In 1931, Japan invaded Manchuria, a region in northeast China, setting the stage for World War II in Asia. Japan established a puppet state called Manchukuo, exploiting its resources and people for their own gain. The invasion had lasting effects on the region and contributed to the tensions between China and Japan. Imagine flatlining for 3 minutes, only to return to the world of the living. This woman experienced just that, leaving everyone in shock. Her miraculous recovery has left people questioning the boundaries between life and death. What did she see during those 3 minutes? In July 1950, Kevin Budden caught a deadly taipan snake by hand. He lost his grip and was bitten, but bagged the snake and made his driver promise to get it to researchers. Kevin died the next day, but the snake was used to create the first taipan anti-venom. In 1991, a Thai woman called Yukit Payne slipped in farmyard mud, grabbed a live wire, and was killed as a result. Her sister, Yukit Pan, 52, showed neighbors later in the day how the accident happened. She slipped, grabbed the live wire, and was also killed. The Howling Inunaki Tunnel, located in Japan, is known for its spine-chilling howls that echo through the tunnel. Many believe that the tunnel is haunted by the spirits of those who died during its construction. But is it really haunted? Today, we're diving into the world of mummies. First up, the screaming mummy. Found with a horrifying expression, this mummy's cause of death remains a chilling mystery. Next, the tattooed mummies of Peru. These ancient mummies have intricate tattoos, revealing a hidden side of their culture. Today, we unravel the disturbing tale of Michael Myers. Michael Myers, a cold-blooded killer, began his reign of terror at just 6 years old, taking the life of his own sister. His emotionless mask, inspired by a Captain Kirk Halloween costume, adds to his chilling presence. On October 21, 1978, pilot Frederick Valentich vanished over the Bass Strait in Australia while flying a Cessna 182L. His disappearance is linked to the infamous Bass Strait Triangle, an area notorious for unexplained vanishings. Before losing contact, Valentich reported a strange aircraft following him. Could it be a UFO encounter? What do you think happened to Frederick Valentich? Share your thoughts in the comments. Today, we're diving into the dark zodiac of America's most notorious serial killers. Ted Bundy, Aquarius, Jeffrey Dahmer, Gemini, John Wayne, Gacy, Pisces. Are their zodiac signs linked to their twisted minds? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. The chilling mystery of Agatha Christie's 11-day disappearance. In 1926, the famous author vanished without a trace, leaving her car, abandoned. The world was left baffled, and a massive search ensued. 11 days later, Agatha was found in a hotel claiming amnesia. Was it a publicity stunt or something more sinister? In 1992, Greg Austin Gingrich died in the Grand Canyon after pretending to fall to his death. In the middle of the joke, he lost his footing and actually fell. An oubliette was a specialized type of dungeon, with the only entrance a trapdoor at the top, agonizingly out of reach of the prisoner. Oubliette is a French term from the verb oublier, which means to forget. It was so named because a prisoner was thrown down into one and then forgotten. Oubliettes were cramped, dimly lit, and narrow cavities within the larger dungeon, allowing for no means of escape due to the single entrance and exit. On May 8, 2008, Joshua Maddox, 18, left his house to take a walk. He was a nature lover, so this was nothing unusual. He was never seen alive again. 7 years later, in August 2015, less than a mile away from Josh's home, property developer Chuck Murphy was demolishing an old wood cabin to make way for 32 new family homes. The cabin hadn't been used in years, and the inside was damp and rotten. Work to demolish the chimney inside the cabin started, and to the surprise of the demolition team, crammed inside the brickwork was a mummified body, which later was confirmed as Josh. His body was naked, apart from a thin shirt, and his clothes were neatly stacked inside the cabin. His death was eventually ruled as an accidental death. It was suggested that Josh had climbed down the chimney and become lodged in the brickwork. He concluded the most likely cause of death was hypothermia. In 2009, Pixar flew a rep out to 10-year-old Colby Curtin's home with a DVD copy of Up before it was released because it was her dying wish to see the film. She died 7 hours later. In 2022, Luigi Casati, 61 years old, was coming home from walking his dog when he was fatally attacked by his neighbor, Silvana Erzenberger, 71, whom also attacked and injured the man's wife. Silvana was very angry because Luigi's small dog was always barking and disturbing hers. In 2019, an inmate in Brazil called Clavino Shorty da Silva attempted to escape prison by dressing up as his teenage daughter, who was scheduled to visit him that day. His attempt was unsuccessful, and he was found dead in his cell a few days later. This is a photograph of Albert Einstein's brain. His brain was removed within 7.5 hours of his death. In 2013, segments of the brain went on exhibit at the Mutter Museum's permanent galleries. The exhibit featured thin slices of Einstein's brain, mounted on microscope slides. In 2014, two 12-year-old girls, Anissa Weyer and Morgan Geyser, lured their friend Peyton Leutner into the woods and stabbed her 19 times in order to impress Slenderman. Leutner crawled to a road where she was found and recovered after 6 days in the hospital. Weyer and Geyser were found not guilty by mental disease or defect and committed to mental health institutions for sentences of 25 years to life and 40 years to life, respectively. Lazarus Colloredo and Joannes Baptista Colloredo were Italian conjoined twins who toured freak shows in 17th century Europe. They were born in Genoa, Italy. Authorities arrested Lazarus after he stabbed a man for teasing his parasitic twin brother. Though he was sentenced to death, the court let him go, finding that they could not execute him without killing his innocent conjoined twin. During the 1920s, Colombia's luxurious Hotel del Salto was a popular destination for wealthy individuals in the country. However, over time, it gained a dark reputation as a place where people went to end their own lives. According to local stories, the hotel was constructed on a site where many indigenous Muisca Indians allegedly jumped to their deaths in an attempt to escape from Spanish conquistadors. In later years, the hotel became a magnet for those with broken hearts who sought to jump off its towering 500-foot cliffs. Due to numerous suicides and unexplained accidents, the hotel was eventually abandoned in the 1990s and has remained empty ever since. In 2012, a statue of Jesus in Mumbai, India, had water mysteriously dripping from its toes. Worshippers began to collect the water for personal use and even to drink it. The source of the water was found to be clogged toilets near the statue. The maned wolf is the largest canid in South America. Its marks resemble those of old foxes, but it is not a fox nor a wolf. It is the only species of the genus Chrysocyon, which means golden dog. These animals are also commonly mistaken for El Chupacabra. In 1973, two men went to police claiming to have been abducted by aliens. The police thought they were lying, so they left the men alone in the room with a secret recording device. To their surprise, they continued talking about what happened and how terrified they were. On the evening of October 11th, 1973, 42-year-old Charles Hickson and 19-year-old Calvin Parker told the Jackson County, Mississippi Sheriff's Office they were fishing off a pier on the west bank of the Pascagoula River in Mississippi when they heard a whirring, whizzing sound, saw two flashing blue lights, and observed an oval-shaped object 30 to 40 feet across and 8 to 10 feet high. Parker and Hickson claimed they were conscious but paralyzed, while three creatures with robotic slit mouths and crab-like pincers took them aboard the object and subjected them to an examination. Back in 1949, a young boy found himself on Krampus's shoulders during a parade in Mitterndorf, Austria. Krampus, a half-goat, half-demon creature, is known for punishing naughty children during the Christmas season. These are spiky contacts. They are used by morticians to keep the eyelids of the dead closed at funeral viewings. Did you know this? Let us know in the comments. This picture, taken in 1975, shows 2-year-old Tiare Jones and 19-year-old Diana Bryant falling from a 5th-floor fire escape after it collapsed during a fire. Diana died, but Tiare survived. Her fall was cushioned by Diana's body. The photo won a Pulitzer Prize. Police have launched a murder investigation after the dismembered remains of missing millionaire Fernando Perez Algaba, 41, were discovered by a group of children in Argentina over the weekend. Today, we're diving into the top 3 creepiest archaeological discoveries ever made. The Screaming Mummy. Unearthed in Egypt, this mummy's horrifying expression has puzzled experts for years. Was it a painful death or a curse? The Vampire of Venice. Found with a brick jammed in its mouth, this skeleton suggests ancient vampire exorcism rituals. Spooky. The Headless Vikings. A mass grave in England revealed 54 decapitated Vikings, their heads piled separately. A gruesome end. The most disturbing deaths ever. First up, the tragic tale of the dancing plague, where hundreds of people danced non-stop for days, leading to exhaustion and death. Next we have the horrifying Radium Girls. These factory workers ingested deadly radium paint, causing their bones to disintegrate. Lastly, it's the chilling Terrari. A man with an insatiable appetite, he devoured everything in sight, including a toddler.